I cannot recall a time I've ever seen such a high accuracy game that lasted for 43 moves. Cue Vladimir Kramnik to pull up a stool, get out the reading glasses and take a look over this interesting one. But no, I am not implying cheating. I'm telling you that if you want to learn something about chess, then watch this game between Alireza Firouzja and Parham Maghsoodloo. The accuracy is off the charts. I'll reveal that one at the end. Now this is Tata Steel, the Wimbledon of chess, round 2, and these guys are both Iranian born, known each other for years. Great contest between them. So Alireza goes e4. We get e5, knight f3, knight c6, and bishop b5 starts the Roy Lopez or Spanish game. Parham goes knight f6, the Berlin defense, rock solid. What does Alireza have in response? Well, he castles, main move, gives the pawn in the center, but now doesn't go d4, which leads us into this infamous Berlin endgame with the queens off the board. Instead, we get rook e1, this tricky line. The knight drops back to d6, hitting a piece, but it's not defended or moved. Instead, we get knight takes on e5. Now, you don't have time to take this one, or the knight's capturing here. Huge discovered check. There goes the queen. So bishop e7, imperative to block the e-file. Now bishop f1, sliding all the way home so as not to hamper the development of any of the other white pieces. We get knight takes on e5, activating the rook, yes, but then you get kicked back after castles, d4, bishop f6, picks up a tempo on that one, it drops back to e1, and now there's a lot of theory here with knight f5. You want to clear the knight from in front of this d pawn as soon as possible, unleash the bishop, but in this game we see rook e8. Whole other branch of theory here. So bishop f4 carries on developing. Big positional threat to shatter the pawn structure. So Parham takes here, the queen recaptures, and now he doesn't take this pawn because otherwise you're running into this horrendous pawn structure. And if you try and take here and do that stuff and get the rook and take twice, all of that, well, there's tricks for white as well. After capturing, you can take here for a second time with the bishop, hit the queen, and you've got back rank problems, if you can visualize that whole thing. So the pawn not touched. Knight e8 played instead. We get knight c3 now from Alireza. You could have gone c3, slightly more timid move, but this one is more testing because it gives a pawn. Parham does take it this time, it's the best move. But now the knight hops to d5 here, and it's a huge initiative for white. And that's why you cannot take this second pawn. Rook b1 comes, and the attack is huge. Queen e4, bishop d3 on the way, pressure on the king side here. I don't want to go deep on all the lines because we're going to see some soon. So instead, d6 is played first. A more prudent move, just preparing to develop. And now Alireza could start with queen e4 here, picking up a tempo, preparing bishop d3, pressuring the king side, but he goes bishop g5. Tricky move. If the black queen takes the bishop, then the white queen takes here, and you just got branked. Back rank checkmated, that's the game over. So instead, we see pawn f6 played, intercepting the attack. If you put a piece on this square, wasn't the best. White can start liquidating, doubling the pawns again because of back rank issues. That's not a good structure. So this was the best move. Now the bishop drops back to h4, and it's a really tough position for black to play. Just to give you a flavour, if you go c6, not just with the idea of repelling that knight, but getting in something like knight c7, supporting bishop e6, etc., well, then white can check, the king sidesteps, and again there's this queen e4 move. Very annoying because you hit here and the king side. This is a sample line. You're threatening mate, g6, and there's all kinds of sacrifices in the air with the knight. The rook can come into the attack very fast. You've got the bishop pair. f4 could be coming. It's just this huge attack. But what we see in the game is bishop takes on b2. Parham thinks, right, I'm getting attacked here. Let's at least win a couple pawns. If I can repel it, I've got a good endgame. So rook b1 from Alireza. The bishop drops back to e5 and now f4. Alireza chucking the kitchen sink at Parham here. And he should immediately check this king. Then go c6. It remains complicated, but it's the best defensive line. However, bishop e6 was played in the game. Looking to counter-attack on this knight, it was defended by the bishop. Now we see check, king h1, bishop f7, so Parham's used this moment to flick in some development of that piece. Looks very nice, but there's actually a problem, which Alireza now exploits expertly. So he starts with this queen e4 move, bishop hit, drops to c5, and now this knight e7 check theme looms in the air once more. And you have to come to f8 with the king, because if you come to h8, well, guess what? You just lost that bishop, which you spent the time developing. This is one of the problems with the line. So the king comes to f8, and now this is an absolute banger of a move.
Trust me, it's an absolute banger. It's a game changer.
Can you find the best way for white to continue here? The whole game just now flows with this majesty from this point. So the move which Alireza plays is queen takes on h7. I mean, chess like this makes you go, wow, I am so excited for this guy to be at the candidates in 2024 this year, even though there were some, weird circumstances with his qualification. Now, what was played here? Well, bishop takes on c4, but it begs the question, why wasn't the knight captured? What if queen takes, for example? Well, you actually box in your own king. You can check, bishop blocks, only legal move. This is a checkmate, no good. And what if the king takes the knight instead? Well, this time the rook joins the party. Sure, you can block with your bishop, but then everything's crashing through. Whichever piece you take with, didn't check which one's best. And if you go king d7, well, now you take the bishop and you're about to win the queen. There's literally nothing black can do to avoid that. D5, let's say, these come off the board, and this is all just completely collapsing, as we can see. So the knight is actually immune and untouchable. Instead, bishop c4 was played. Now rook e1 from Alireza, and it sets up a new checkmating threat, but the same theme. Queen h8, bishop blocks, then you deliver the mate, but this time supported by the knight, not by the bishop. Just incredible stuff. And that's why it's forced for the queen to take on e7, give itself up just to stop the checkmate. Now, after the king captures, it looks like black's got enough material, but queen e4, the queen switches back. What a geometry here, and you're losing the bishop by force, because you can move the king, drop it here, or block like we see in the game, but then f5 shuts the trap on that poor, miserable, limp noodle of a bishop. What to do? Well, rook d8 was played, trying to activate, push d5, and Alireza doesn't even rush. Cool as a cucumber, classy customer, just goes g4 here. Now we see c6 played. Maybe ideas of knight c7, but Alireza's not bothered. He just carries on with g5. Just superb. Knight c7 can come, wasn't played, but could have been played. But guess what? You can take with check, still take here, find the knight enters the game, but now you start checking, you do all this nasty stuff. You can even win a knight in this particular line. Say you come here with the king, well then this pawn starts collapsing, you still win the knight probably. Haven't checked, yeah, now you pick up the knight. Just awful. So no knight c7. We see king f8, provoking the pawn to take, winning the piece. This is a massive threat. Pick up the rook, obviously. So the king now comes black back, blocking that threat. We see takes with check, and you'd love to capture with the knight, right? Re-enter the game. But then there's queen g4. What a move. Using the pin, holding the pawn, hitting this pawn here, and how to defend. If you do this, then there's this. If king takes on e6, what is the line? Yeah, this one. And now if pawn captures, rook drops, and just a flavour of the stuff going on. It's awful. So knight didn't take, pawn recaptured, and now this is awesome. queen to g4, and Alireza is snaking that lady into the heart of the black position. Always a pleasure to watch, because after d5 there was really nothing to do, right? Alireza goes queen to g8, and he's slow motion squeezing black like a boa constrictor, and there's a mating 2 threat. Queen f7 check, king d6, bishop g3 would be a checkmate, scything down that diagonal. Incredible. So that's why bishop d4, to then be able to block this diagonal. So Alireza goes bishop g3, mate in 1, threatened, so bishop e5 forced, and now I really like this ending sequence because it's not the kind of usual one I'd expect to see. Obviously pause if you want to look for the best move or best couple of moves, but the way Alireza played here was with bishop takes on e5, and it looks slightly unusual to me because you connect the pawns, you know, counterplay, counterplay, counterplay for black here, right? But here's the point. h4, and that one has got its running shoes on, ploughing down the board. e4, h5, d4, but now queen f7 check, forcing the king here, and e7. What a killer of a move, because if you go rook d7, well, you lose your knight. I mean, that is the most horrible steed, right? Stuck on that back rank for ages, since like move 10 or something. So rook c8 was played, staying with the knight, but now we get this check. King takes the pawn. If you stepped up, by the way, you run into queen f5 check, and there's a loose rook. Big recurring theme, because now after check, you can't go to f7, which you might like to do, come towards this pawn, because otherwise from f7, again, queen f5 check, loose rooks drop. So king d7 played, but now there's a check with tempo. The knight blocks finally re-entering the game, but h6 forced resignation because the pawn's running through. You can't actually stop it, right? The queen is supporting that square, the rook's paralyzed, and if you go king e6, preparing knight f7, well, still you can push knight f7, but queen g4 check, just constantly running into problems. Even if you went to e7 here, there's new kind of things. What have we got now? Knight f7. Okay, queen h4 check. Still you can force something through. Yeah, okay, you can force this through or win a knight. If it comes this way, what's the line? Okay, queen f6 check, knight drops. There's just no way to hold all the loose pieces together. Too uncoordinated. And this was the accuracy that Alireza played with. 99.3%. In a 43 move game, which this one was, I've really never seen an accuracy that high. You see it with low level draws maybe, you know, 25 move draws or maybe 25 move easy to play games, but to bring this level of attacking accuracy and just perfection, wow, I have missed Alireza's chess when he plays like this. I hope you enjoyed. Do hit like if you did, smash subscribe, and I hope to see you again on a future video. And for another epic game, check out the video on screen. Thanks a lot.